All right, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're at, or a good almost lunchtime or post lunchtime, or anyway. Hello, my name is Zach Kershensky. I am the customer success manager here at Cat Software. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to go over, honestly, we're going to go over two things that could, I think, each have their own webinar as a topic. And maybe we'll do that someday to go a little bit more in depth. But today we're going to talk about job applications, and we're going to talk about the career portal and making some customizations to both of those. That's the thing we go for with Cats and have from day one is we want to have something that's simple to use, but we also want to have it that it's customizable to fit your own needs, to fit your own unique hiring process. And these are a couple really, really good tools that you can use to help facilitate those. So I'm going to jabber on for just about another minute or two to sort of let those that are joining us late jump in. Numbers are pretty good, but again, I'll stall for just a minute here, so those that are joining in late aren't missing too much. As a reminder, all these webinars are recorded, and so if you do miss something along the way or you got to take off, no worries. You will be emailed a link. Usually it's about 24 hours after the webinar ends, so you'll be able to go back and watch this and review that type of thing. So again, my name is Zach. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm also joined by Jeff Pauline. He's our product manager. He will be answering questions as they are submitted, and also be helping me out with questions towards the end. So typically the way we do these, just a quick 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes sort of demonstration on the topic, and then we like to open things up for just an overall kind of Q&A at the end. If you're anything like me, you're going to see something about 10 minutes in and you're going to go, ooh, I was wondering about that. And then I'm going to talk about something else, and then you're going to forget about it. So feel free to throw those questions at us as they come up as well. And we'll do our best to either answer them during the webinar or at the end during the Q&A session. So cool. Well, let's go ahead and not delay too much further here. Just kind of a quick outline of what we're going to be talking about today. So again, kind of a two-parter. One is I want to talk about the applications themselves. And then two, I'm going to talk about the career portal and sort of the customization that you can do on that. Obviously, they tie into each other. As I create jobs in the system, I can apply specific job applications to those jobs. The jobs are then published on my portal. And so any applicants, any candidates that are coming across those jobs, those are the questions that they need to fill out in order to be considered a candidate and entered into my system. So again, we'll talk about some of the bullet points there. What's the default registration application? You don't have to start from scratch as you're building these applications. A lot of people will start kind of from a template and move on from there. One of the really powerful tools that you can do when building those job applications is take the information that the candidate gives you and map it to your own custom field. That way later on, when you want to search on those candidates, that question, that answer, it doesn't just live sort of within the application itself. It's mapped to the profile in a way that, again, really allows you to search, sort, and filter your records based off of how those questions were answered. A couple other tools within those applications are triggers, so you can make things happen based off of how a candidate answers a question, and then of course applying those applications to your jobs once they're in the system. And then when we talk about portals, we'll talk a little bit about the logos, the banner, the color that you can apply to them, just overall sort of layout changes, what it means when we talk about registration, also adding custom text to those portals, and then we will dig in at the end, kind of go over the difference between what the job widget is versus sort of the standard portal and the options that you have there. So let me switch screens here, and we will dive right in. Of course, as I say that, we don't dive right in. Way things go when we do them live. Cool. All right, so there's going to be, I guess, a couple things assumed here. One is that you're an admin on your site. Um, a lot of these functions, a lot of these customizations are only going to be able to be made by a site admin. So if you're just kind of like a standard recruiter access level, it might be worth talking to your site administrator to get access to these functions. Honestly, the easiest way to know whether or not you yourself are an admin, if you click the settings icon right up here, if it doesn't say administration, you're not an administrator. Pretty straightforward. These options over here won't be available either. So, all right, let's talk about applications. So the other thing I guess we're going to kind of assume is that you're familiar with the process in CATS of creating jobs and then publishing them out to your career portal. Very, very quick reminder, the idea is you create the jobs within CATS, within the job, and typically it does it by itself, but you're going to have the option to say, I'm going to publish this job, and then it'll ask you, okay, where do you want the jobs to go to? One part is the career portal, and then one part is a number of third-party job boards that you can potentially put it on the feed for those boards to pick up. But we're going to focus on the portal and the applications for today. So you create the job, you put it on your portal. As a candidate clicks on that job, they click apply now. Hopefully they're going to go ahead and automatically upload their resume. But just in case they don't, this is the application. And again, in CATS, by default, we're going to give you the standard application. It's 8, maybe it's 10 questions that ask for, very, very basic information. What's your name? What's your email address? Contact info, upload your resume. And for some folks, that's all you need. Especially if you're more in like the agency kind of recruiter space, a lot of people say, you know what, pardon me, let me just get their application, or let me just get their resume. I'll work my magic and I'll qualify the people from there. But the advantage of having these very specific, very customizable applications is you can ask specific questions, you can qualify candidates, you can disqualify candidates, you can automatically screen candidates right away without having to necessarily go in and look at candidate by candidate by candidate, one by one by one by one. So that's why we offer this feature here. So to get to these applications on the back end, as an admin, I'm going to click on More, and I will go to Applications. And again, you're going to see this one here. It just says General Application Default. Okay, and that's just the basic sort of application that we give you. Contains those kind of basic questions. What's your name? Contact info, things like that. And if you click into the application, that's where you'll see the actual questions. And just like we do in your workflow or when you're editing your profile, if you want to sort of change the order around of these questions, I can just click these little arrow icons on the left, and it'll allow me to sort of click and drag them up and down in whatever order I would choose. Now, I wanted to back up a second. If I'm looking at this page that has just my applications, you'll see a couple things. And I'm going to delete this one just to eliminate a little bit of confusion. So you'll see a couple designations here where one says default and one says registration. Now, there's a couple attributes that you can include on your applications that say, when I create a job, this is the default application that's going to be applied to the job. And I do that by opening up the application itself. There's this default section here, and I can say, this is my default application. I can also say, this is my registration application. And this one takes a little bit more explaining. So when I look at the career portal, if I go back out to that listings page, there's going to be a section up here that you can give a candidate the ability to submit your resume without applying for a specific job. Maybe what you have right now isn't a fit, but they still want to be considered for something that might come up later on. So they want to get you your resume, be in your database, be searchable, things like that. And that's where this comes into play. And when they click that link, they're going to be met with a specific application. And that's where you can designate that within CATS. So I can say, my general application, I automatically want to attach them to my jobs. I also want to make it so that if a candidate is just registering, they're not actually applying, this is the application that I want them to fill out. Maybe it has more information because, again, they're not applying for a specific job, so you need to know a little bit more about their background before, they're just going into your database. Or maybe it's less. Maybe it's like, you know what? Since you're not applying for a specific job, let's just kind of get your basic info. Maybe we'll have a conversation, from there. It's up to you. Now, again, when you first get into CATS, you're basically just going to see this one that says, general application default. If I want to create additional applications, I can come up to the button here on the upper right where it says add application. I'm just going to name it test for now. And where it says header, that's just a place where you can add sort of some text. Maybe it's about your company, maybe it's about who you are, what you guys hire for, that type of thing. Nothing necessarily required in that space. I'm gonna hit save down here at the bottom. It's kind of one of the things that trips people up a little bit. You have to create the application, pardon me, before you can start adding questions to the application. So now I've created it. I'm in here. It's a blank application. Now I can start manually adding questions. If I say add question, field title is going to be basically, hey, here's what the question asks. If I want a little comment, that's going to appear basically how this text appears right here. It's sort of grayed out and it appears kind of below. So if you want to include any additional information, you can. And a couple things worth noting here. I'm going to come back to this. Save to is a very important dropdown. By default, we don't necessarily save application, or at least custom application questions, to fields within the candidate profile within CATS. We just have a little section where you can view their application. So if you are asking something, are you willing to relocate? Do you have a certification in X, Y, and Z? Are you legally authorized to work, in this environment, whatever. And that's something that you want to capture and be able to search on. Typically, we recommend creating a custom field. And then when you create those custom fields, this will give you the option right here to be able to save it to that field. So that license, for example, I can say licensed in, and then it's going to know based on what my options are for that field, what the options I'm going to let the candidate answer. So I'll come back to that. If you're not really looking to save it to a custom field, or you don't want to set that up right away, that's totally fine too. That's where you're going to see these field types. And so these are the different formats on how the candidate can answer the question. So is it just like a standard text box? Is it a multi-line text box? Is it a multiple choice? Drop down, that's a pretty common one where I can say, okay, the answer is either A, B, or C. And you can see as I start typing into these boxes, you'll be able to add more options to that drop down. And then you can also require the question as well. They won't be able to submit the application until they fill out that question. And if you ever wanted any more info on what I'm working on here, or just in general, I always recommend checking out our knowledge base and use it as a cheat sheet. I've got tabs up here specifically talking about the career portal. How do I embed jobs on my website? Instructions on the job widget that we're going to talk about, styling the job widget. So again, the knowledge base is very detailed. There's hundreds of articles in there at this point. So I do highly recommend checking these out. And then, the application piece, like we were talking about before, if I can type, building job application. There's a whole detailed article on basically what I'm talking about listed here. You'll have to excuse the long pause. I'm sorry. I'm getting over a cold and I got a brand new baby girl at home, so sleep has been pretty minimal lately. So appreciate your patience. All right. So the other thing that I really, really, really wanted to talk about when we're digging into applications, custom questionnaires, are the triggers. So one very common example that I'll show you guys is if I'm working on a question, so here's a very common use where it says, I have a question here that says, are you over 18 and legally able to work in the US? I have that set up as a dropdown, and the only answers that they can submit for that are yes or no. Looks like this on the application itself. I'm not sure that's coming through on the screen share, so you'll have to trust me on that. I apologize, but you can imagine what a dropdown looks like with yes or no as an option. Now, what I can do is I can come over here. If you're familiar with working on the workflow, that's exactly how this works, where I can add a trigger to this question and I can take action based off of how they answer it. So, are you over 18, legally able to work in the US? I'm going to add a trigger to that question that says, now I'm going to search the text. And this is why creating a dropdown and having a uniform response becomes very important. So I'm going to say no. So if they say no, here's what I'm going to do. And there's a number of actions that you can take from here. All right, guys, I'm gonna sort of make a change to my sharing here. You guys bear with me just a moment. It does not want to show the drop downs that I'm hitting, and these are very important. So let's do this and hope maybe we're improvising. Here we go. Okay, let's try this. So again, here's the question. I'm adding a trigger to the question, and I'm going to say, if they say no, here's what I want to do. Okay, looks like the options are coming through now. In this use case, the most often triggers actions that we see are silently reject candidate or do not add to pipeline. And so this is one where if I silently reject the candidate, they're still going to get, maybe the email that says, hey, thanks for submitting your application. We'll reach out if we decide, you're going to be a good fit. Or, they don't really know they've been rejected, but they're still going through the motions that their application's going through. This candidate will never appear in your database. So this is someone that's never going to be a fit for one of your jobs. Or a little less harsh, what you can do is do not add to pipeline. Same thing applies. This candidate is not going to be considered for this job. However, they will be put into your database, just kind of in your general overall candidates database. Now, that is a situation where maybe someone is going to be a fit for a job that you have later on. And then, a couple years down the line, run a search, they come up, boom, there you go. So there's a couple options that you can do there. And it's not always a negative thing. So, for example, I can ask a question that says, hey, do you have experience with this technology, or hey, do you have this type of license or this type of certification? And if they say yes, boom, maybe I want to mark that candidate as hot. Maybe I have a series of questions that says, hey, do you do this? Do you have this? Can you relocate? What's your preferred salary range? I can set up like a bevy of questions, and each time they answer one with the answer that I like, I can add a star to their rating. So candidates, with respect to given jobs, can be rated 1 to 5, and this is a great way to, at a glance, very quickly find your most qualified candidates for a given job if you build out the applications, if you add the triggers, and then you can see the different star ratings that go on there. So hoping that's getting your wheels turning a little bit as to some of the things that you can do as you build those applications, as you add the triggers and make things happen. Again, sometimes folks are very, very okay with the, hey, just upload your resume and enter your contact info. But there is a lot more that you can do with those applications. Running a little bit longer than I would like to, so I'm just going to show you really quick here. Within a job order, you're going to see a section that specifically says applications. And we are zoomed in here. Okay, it's up here at the top, sorry. And this is where I can basically say, for this job, I want my general application. And again, maybe that is the default 8 questions and upload your resume. And then again, I can build out specific applications for different clients that I'm working with, different countries that I'm working in, different industries, job types, you name it. You can build out your own sort of custom questionnaires and then apply them to the jobs as you see fit. And even if I have, 2 or 3 boxes checked here, that's totally fine. It all appears as one application to the candidate. They don't have to like fill out this thing, then hit submit, and then fill out this other thing and hit submit. It's all pretty seamless. It all comes through there. So, all right, that I told you I can do an entire webinar just on the applications bit. But yeah, hopefully that gives you guys some ideas. And if you have questions, again, feel free to start submitting those through, or if you want to wait till the end where we do the Q&A, that's totally fine too. All right, I'm going to pause for just a moment here, and we will jump over into the career portal. All right, so moving along, we use the term career portal. Basically, it's a jobs page to really, really kind of not do it service. But that's what it is. It's a page where as you create your jobs and CATs, it lives out on the internet on the page that we host. And as you create the jobs, as you publish them, as you take them down, the jobs will be there accordingly. You do not have to maintain that website. You don't have to take jobs up or down at all. We do that for you. With Kitten is just sort of a general test site that we have set up here. kitten.catsone.com/careers is where we're at. Yours is going to be your site.catsone.com/careers. And one of the very common questions that we get is, okay, so here's this site that's, kind of floating out in space. How do I connect that with my company website? And we can meet you halfway. We can create that page, we can host the jobs. We can't edit your own company website though. So what most people will do, they'll have some type of link that says, hey, click here for current opportunities, or, there's a careers link in the header, or, jobs, whatever. And then that links over to where this page is. And then from there, you kind of do the rest. But again, there's a really good knowledge-based article that kind of breaks that down. Now, within the portal itself, there is a lot of customization that you can do to kind of make it more your own. So again, as an admin, I come over here to more, I go to portals, and by default, you're just going to have the one that says general. That's totally fine. Most people that we work with do just have the one career portal page. There are instances, especially more kind of in the HR space, where if you've got a couple different companies under your sort of umbrella, or if you're even potentially like recruiting for different clients and you want to have sort of their own career portal pages, you can absolutely do that. I've got multiple in here just to kind of show you some of the different designs that you can do within CATS. But on a very, very plain and simple level, here's where this customization page lives. So when we're looking at the CATS logo, again, this isn't going to be there by default. This is our page, so we threw the CATS logo up there. You guys absolutely can throw in your own logo into this space, as well as the banner. So the banner image is going to appear basically in this space up here behind your logo. And there's, again, a really good knowledge base article that breaks down what all those different things are. Where's the logo? Where's the header? Where's the banner? When I change this, what does this do? When I change this, what does that do? So I highly recommend checking this page out and use it as a cheat sheet as you make those customizations to your career portal. A lot of different colors, and we've got sort of some default layouts that you can do in here. So if you hit this color preset option, and as I sort of change these, you can kind of see they're named over after a bunch of cities and stuff. So I'm not much of a UI color palette guy, so I definitely appreciate having these sort of built out for me already. One of the other things that you can customize with very relative ease is the layout of the jobs, set the columns, set what the search bars are. So when we start looking at, there's a column for job title, there's a column for location, maybe the category, maybe all of my jobs are in IT. So I don't need a category over here that's showing me specifically, okay, IT, right? We get it. That's just taking up space. So if I ever wanted to go in and edit that, I've got a space right here where I can edit my columns, and I can say, you know what, category, don't need you. We'll just make that one blank. I'm gonna hit save. Now I only have 3 columns. And if I come back over here, hit refresh, boom, it's gone. So again, you can set those columns to a number of things. So even things like those custom fields that you build out within your site, you guessed it, you can create columns specific to those custom fields, as well as search filters. So again, I've got search filters up at the top here for the job title. I've got drop downs for the city. I've got drop downs for the category. If I have my jobs built out with specific custom fields set up, I can also set up drop downs for those out here on my career portal. So just to give you a couple ideas of what some portals look like that make those basic changes that we offer, you can start to do actually quite a bit. So I've got this atomic search solution set up here where, boom, there's the logo, there's a banner, we've got some colors changed up here. The layout on this one is pretty much the same, but you can see how drastically different it looks and how it matches more of, maybe my brand that I have, for my company website. So it's not as drastic of a change when someone's on this, very nice, very modern, company website, and then they come over to this thing and they're like, is this the same company? Are these, yeah. So you can definitely match your branding, a little bit more through those customization options. So Anytech Staffing is another one we have set up. This one I actually have them grouped by category. So here's all my administrative jobs. Here's all my computer software jobs. Here's my construction facilities jobs, etc. And so again, there is a pretty good amount of customization that you can do on those portals. And honestly, it doesn't take, at this point, it doesn't really take any HTML or coding or website building know-how to sort of make those things happen. One other thing I did want to point out is the custom text. So Just like within cats, you can change. So for example, if I wanted this to say clients instead of contacts, as an admin, I can come over here and I can say, all right, custom text, and this lists out almost all of the language that we use within cats, and I can translate it to say whatever I want it to say. This is internal. This is not out on your career portal. If you want to make any changes to this, so you see how before on the one portal it said submit your resume up here at the top. This one it says register with us. You can change the language of what a lot of this stuff says, and you do that in your portal options that we were looking at before. So if I come over here to general, there is a custom text setting here where if I click configure, I've got 236 different phrases and words and pieces of text that we use on this career portal, where you're going like, you know what? I don't like the way they say that. I would rather it say this. There you go. So there's all kinds of customization that you can do in this space. And then just to quickly address a couple more things in this space. So company website is basically, we have this link up here, and that'll just link you back to whatever the company website is. You just have to let us know what that site is. The registration we talked about, language, pretty straightforward. A couple of other settings here we're talking about. So custom domain. So if I want, instead of kitten.catsone.com/careers or mywebsite.catsone.com/careers, if I wanted to say something else, you can essentially make the career portal sit on careers.mywebsite.com. And the way you do that is you set up a CNAME record through your DNS provider. So usually you want to reach out to like GoDaddy or whoever you're using as your domain host. Set that up, throw that in here. If you're having any trouble along the way, that's what we're here for. Shoot us an email, request a call. We can definitely help you out with that. The other thing that happens is we've added a little bit of customization in there to where by default, search engines are going to be allowed to crawl your career portal for job postings. That's a lot of how we make like Google Jobs happen, for example. Some people don't want that to be in place. Some people just want to have like a private page that hosts their jobs. That's totally fine. Change that to no, and we'll basically put a no crawl index, a no index tag within the source code for that to make that happen. And again, any specific questions on that, feel free to reach out and let us know. Cool. Okay, so one more thing I did want to show you guys. Everything I've talked about so far has been with sort of our default career portal. No coding necessary. Go in, upload a picture, change some colors, change some layouts, you're good to go. Some people want a little bit more control than that, and that's totally fine. We also offer the option to embed your jobs within a specific page on your company website. We do that with our jobs widget. So just to kind of give you a visual idea of what that would look like. So again, custom but default portal from CATS. Someone clicks the link, they land on this page. This is a client of ours, and I always pick on this page because I think they did a really good job. If I'm on Victoria Newitt's website here, and I click on looking for work, scroll down a little bit, there's actually a section right here where they are using the CATS jobs widget to embed those jobs within a specific page. And now I still have the header down here. I still have everything else that's going on. I just have those CATS jobs embedded right in here. That's responsive. So as as you publish jobs, as you take them down, this will be updated accordingly. And it still kind of lives within the portal space, because if I'm looking at this VP of operations job, if I click it, guess what? Boom. It's going to take me right over to the portal where I have that application, et cetera. So, you know, you can never fully get away from this per se, but this does give you a nice kind of front end if you want a little bit more customization, a little bit more control over what those jobs look like. And to get that, you go into your portal setting. There's a section right here where it says the job widget, and we'll give you the code for that. So essentially take that code, copy it, paste it into the source code of your website, of your company website, and that'll start to appear. There is also a very, very detailed, very specific page that talks about, here's how I use the job portal instructions. And there's also a specific page that talks about, styling that job widget with CSS once you get that into your company website. So feel free to bounce off. You know, we're not, most of us in support aren't web designers, but I think we're all at least a little bit familiar with HTML and CSS. So feel free to bounce some ideas off of us there as well. Cool. All right, guys. So I am just going to take a step back for a second. I will let those questions start to file in, and Jeff and I will be answering those. So yeah, just going to pause for a moment. Feel free to throw those questions out. We'll open up the Q&A session, and based off of how many questions are coming in, we'll figure out when we're going to put a wrap on this thing. So I appreciate it, guys. I will pause and be back with you in just a moment. All right, so we got a few flowing in here. Again, thanks so much for joining us here today and sending those questions out. We had, and there is one part that I was going to get to, but we were just sort of running short on time. But I love that there's interest in it. On this portal settings page, down in this integrations piece, there is also an analytics section. Again, that's just kind of it's going to be a shortcut way for you to embed. If you're working in Google Analytics, if you're working in Clicky, sites like Indeed and Glassdoor, even LinkedIn, sort of offer tracking codes so that if candidates are landing on your career portal from whichever site, this is going to give you the ability to embed those codes and then track them and send that information over to the source of your choice. So if we're looking at, if you're working with Google Analytics, if you're working with, again, a number of these sources that are listed down here, this is where you throw that code in, and we can make that happen for you. Carrie had a question, can you set up different responses to the application? So if they respond negatively to a deal breaker question, can you trigger off a rejection email with the specifics? So it's not that in depth just yet in terms of what can happen on those triggers. I showed you earlier, I can set up a search string and I can say, okay, if a candidate answers this way, here's what happens. And basically what's in those drop downs are the extent right now of what we can do. As we venture a little bit further into the HR space, and as we're under top echelon now, and we're kind of working with the team over at Big Biller and the applicant manager, that's definitely a space that we're working towards. And I think the deeper into that we get, the more functionality, the more customization we're going to have as part of that. But no, at this point, it's basically saying, okay, if they say no, we're going to silently reject them. We're going to add them to the pipeline. Certainly, there are ways for you to add text to their notes that will let you know that, hey, this person said this, but it doesn't really tie in with the status change / email triggers at this point. I would love to see that. It's one of those things where, okay, you've got this feature, you've got this feature, you've got this feature. What if this one talked to this one, and then in turn, right? And so I would love to see that a little bit more tied together. So not at the moment. Basically, just what I showed is what we have, but that is some really, really good feedback. And then Tom asked, how do you get to the knowledge part of CATS? Yeah, within CATS, we're just looking at the question mark right up here. And there is a link right here for the knowledge base. And that'll take you over to what I was kind of working on before. Really, really detailed, good articles within here. We also have a series of training videos, which are coming back very soon. Had a little bit of a hiccup with a Google transition that ended up in some nasty stuff happening to our training videos, but those will be back online very soon. And then, we always say start there. That's a great way to get accustomed with the system. And then, of course, there's options here if you do want to shoot us a quick email, request a call. Our support team is always available to help you out with any requests that you have as well. So a little bit quiet today, but that's fine. I think summer is in full effect. So like I said, I'm on like 3 hours of sleep. I got a newborn baby girl at home. So you're not going to disappoint me by being a little bit quiet at all today. So thank you so much again for those that did attend. Again, moving forward, click on the question mark icon. There's great ways to get a hold of us. And if you do have follow-up questions, our info is right here. So feel free to shoot me an email, zach@catswin.com, Jeff as well, jeff@catswin.com, and we will be more than happy to get you pointed in the right direction. All right, guys, thanks again so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.